Good evening, Mount Zion. Welcome, everyone. We got a lot going on tonight. I'm using different technology once again. I think I've got the OBS system down good enough now that I'm going to be using it for these evenings as well because I'm happy with the way things are going. When I'm close enough to the camera for the camera to focus on me well, I'm happy with the way OBS is working right now. So I'm switching to OBS for Thursday nights as well, which gives me some better capabilities in certain ways. So welcome. We've got Chad here. We've got Dick and Nardine here. Please be sure to go ahead and say hi to each other and post any prayer concerns that you've got for this evening, and also any questions that you would like for us to discuss. I'm sure some of you have some questions regarding the COVID situation and so forth, given the governor's new announcements this week. So let's go ahead, though, and open with a word of prayer, shall we? By your word, O God, everything was made. Your word is powerful and can transform the hearts of men and women. Speak to us today, O God. Open our hearts and minds to your renovating word and give us guidance and strength. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen. Okay, so Mike Slaughter says hi. Good evening, Mike. So, what do we have going on tonight? We are going to be talking once again this week about stewardship. We are in the third week of our stewardship campaign at church. And this week we're talking about Genesis 12, verses 1 through 4. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the picture that we're using this week. This is, I forget who did it. This is a 19th century painting of Moses on his way from Ur to Canaan. Yes, did I say Moses? This is Abraham. Father Abraham had many sons. This is Abraham on his way from Ur to Canaan, and I like this one. I like this painting. I think it's pretty cool. So the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you I will curse, and all the peoples on earth will be blessed through you." So Abram went, as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So, this week's topic, using the same curriculum that I've been using, has to do with talking to God about what God wants us to give, about what God wants us to do. When I talk about giving, I'm not just talking about financial giving, I'm talking about all the different ways we give to God. We give our time, we give our energy, and even when we give our resources, there's more than one type of resource that we have to give. And when we decide how much and what, how much time, how much money, when we decide whether or not we're going to let the church use our van, or whether we're going to let the church host an event at our house, whenever we're deciding these things, we need to go to God in prayer on that. And not only that, but we need to be going to God in prayer on this on a regular basis, because there might be things that God wants us to do that it would never occur to us to ask. So it's not just a question of, when that annual stewardship card comes and they say, how much are you going to give next year? I pray to God and say, all right, God, how much do you want me to give next year? It's not just about that. It's about being open to God so that God can tell us that he wants us to pack up our bags and move to Canaan, for example, or that he wants us to retire early and go into a ministry position, or any one of a number of different things that God would have us do. Those things come to us, well, they don't always come to us in prayer. Sometimes God grabs our attention in ways that are quite dramatic and we're not expecting Him to. But very often those come to us in times of prayer when we're being quiet and when we're listening. And before I go into how that applies to us today, I'm actually going to, I think, take things out of sequence just a little bit because so much of what we're doing today has to do with the COVID-19 situation, and so many of the decisions that we have to make have to do with that. And everything that we've done this year, whether it was these Facebook Lives or taking worship online, building a new church website, starting the YouTube channel, which starting a church YouTube channel is much more involved than starting your own personal YouTube channel. I found that out the hard way. All of these things required a certain openness by everybody involved. An openness by me to be willing to try certain things, an openness on your part to be willing to try certain things, all things that we had never done before, willingness to chime in and say good evening to all, like Joan Ritchie just did. But that is an ongoing process that we need to be prayerful about um, because this isn't over. And the restrictions are tightening again, and they're probably going to continue to tighten into the winter. COVID likes cold because when it's cold, we're indoors. And when we're indoors, the sun's UV rays are not killing the bacteria and viruses that hide on our skin. And when we're indoors, the air is becoming stale, and we're not, we're not uh, distanced as much as we are when we're spending a lot of our time outdoors. And there's more opportunities to be exposed. And when we are exposed, the virus has better conditions to survive on our hands or on our face longer. So the peak is probably going to come sometime midwinter or late winter. Things will continue to get more restrictive between now and then. And how is the church going to continue to be church through it? Um, I was looking today at how our different online ministries have been doing, and September things have been from September on things have been on the rise. So between our Facebook worship and the church YouTube channel and my personal YouTube channel, we've got at least 70 people watching the worship service online every Sunday morning. That's in addition to the 40, 50 people that we have in church on Sunday morning. So that's good. That's better. And when people join in with us, and I see Gene has joined in. Hi, Gene. Actually, here on Thursday instead of Friday. Yeah, some of our folks watch this video on Friday morning as part of their Friday morning devotional time, rather than watching it on Thursday evening. So their likes and interactions and comments come after most people have already left. So anyway, and people are interacting and commenting and so forth, and that's good. Okay, but hi, Kayleen. I'm working under the assumption that at some point this winter we're probably going to have to shut down in-person worship again. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it doesn't come to that. But what are we going to do to increase our fellowship? Because you know, it's been great being back in the building again. Even though we're in the fellowship hall, we're seeing each other. Even though we're not hugging, even though we're doing the elbow bump, even though we're keeping a distance from each other, even though we can't sing like normal, having people together in the room is just better than chiming in the comments on Facebook. And I would like, if we are no longer able to gather in person, I would like for us to be able to have something more akin to real community when we do gather together. And so I'm looking now at other ways of doing that, and none of them strike me as things that will come naturally to any of us, right? So one of the ideas that some churches are doing is to start a Discord server for their congregation, or at least for their youth group. And Discord is it's an online platform that is used primarily by teenage boys and gamers, and it allows them to talk to each other and message each other. And I don't really fully understand how it works. It's not intuitive from my perspective, but they use it a lot. Some of them do. Um, and I talked to some kids about it this week, and they're like, "No, we don't want that for youth group. We want youth group to be in person." I'm like, well, I want it to be in person too, but what if it can't be in person? What if it's between something online versus nothing? So how can we go from having the bottom line is, how can we go from having an online audience to having a true online community? And I see Ida's here. Hi, Ida. And that's great that we can all say hi to each other. And I know that sometimes we get a little bit of conversation going, but it would be great if we could have actual conversation. If we could have something resembling Sunday morning fellowship time, if we're not able to actually gather together. And this is times when we have to pray and ask God, um, what am I willing to step out of my comfort zone and try? What am I willing to do differently? Um, Something we all have to do. You know, and more people are going to need to become involved in this technology. That Sunday morning that Becky had Bell's palsy, and I had to leave before the 10 o'clock service to get her to the hospital, or to meet her at the hospital rather. Zoe actually took her. So I ran the streaming service, but then everybody was sort of on their own for the 10 o'clock service. And the following week, Ben said to me, "All right, show me what hooks into what and what buttons to push. show me how you've got this set up." And yeah, I needed to do that. But this here, what I do on Sunday morning to run the service live, um, people have little bits and pieces of that. But if I couldn't be here at all one Sunday morning, I don't think anybody would be able to make it work right now. I need to educate other people on how to use the equipment and how to set it up, and stuff that happens on the back end. And there need to be people who will say, "I'll be a producer." Basically, this is a production. This is a studio production type of thing. So, and I don't think there's anybody in the church right now who's going, "Ooh, I've always wanted to be a live streamer. I've always wanted to learn how to run a production through open broadcasting system." No, I don't think anybody's doing that. Can I reach out to the community and see if people are in that category? Yeah, I could, and I probably should. Maybe I will. But these are things that we all have to ask ourselves. What are we willing to do differently? Um, so as it stands right now, the governor is changing some things. A lot of it seems to be voluntary, which is good. None of it, I shouldn't say none, very little of it seems to directly impact us as of right now. And the reason is because we are practicing proper distancing in worship with 6 feet spacing between families. And when you're practicing 6 feet spacing between families, um, it's almost, unless you're better at math than we are, geometry in particular, there's no way to go past 50% capacity with 6 feet between families. We've got all of our chair groupings um, spaced at 6 feet, and if all of those chairs were taken up, there's no way we would be at 50% capacity. I talked to Ned Brinsfield about this, and he's in the same boat. When they went from 50 to 75% for churches and funeral homes, he said, "How can I get to 75% with every second, every third pew closed off and 6 foot spaces between people in the pews? There's no way to get to 75%." So that part does not affect us. What does affect us is that they said that they don't want any weddings or funerals to have more than 25 people present at them. And I'm pretty sure I understand the reason behind that, why weddings and funerals are going to be treated differently from normal worship services. That's because weddings and funerals both have something that most worship services do not have, and that is a receiving line where people stand and wait and shake hands. So the people who are, the key focal people of the event, they shake hands or bump elbows with everybody in attendance. And the people who are in line don't generally practice 6 foot social distancing. Um, so there's a very good reason for limiting those to 25 people. The private gatherings of 25 the private gatherings being limited to people of 25, that does not impact us other than other than the weddings and funerals, because a worship service is not a private gathering. Um, a private um, private property is, we're private property, but a private gathering is in a place like your home, or some place, where you can tell people you're not coming in. And although we technically could tell people that at church, that's not generally how churches operate. Churches are effectively public gatherings. Okay, so when they say no private gatherings more than 25 people, they're talking about, Thanksgiving basically. They're talking about family dinners, birthday parties, stuff like that. Keep them all to less than 25 people. So we don't really need to worry about that for church as of right now. Things could change. So that's why we're looking ahead. Now, as far as how that impacts stewardship, it impacts stewardship in a number of different ways. Um, I've said all along that our giving has been strong this year, and in some ways that has been true, in that the people who give on a regular basis have continued to give on a regular basis at the rates that they at the rates that they're used to giving. Um, we've determined now, taking a deeper look at it, that it has not been true in other ways. So, for example, there are people who give every week, or they're on a regular giving schedule, and their check or their money transfer goes through once a month or once a week, however often they've set it up. Whether they show up in church that day or not, the money goes happens. Some folks send a check in on a certain day of the month every month, and whether they go to church that week or not is irrelevant. There are other people who give when they come to church, and those people, if they come to church sporadically, um, and by sporadically I mean not every week. So maybe they'll be here, twice a month, 1 month, only 1 week the next month, maybe all 4 weeks during Advent. Most people don't attend church every week. So the weeks that they don't go are weeks that they don't give. And obviously, since COVID-19 has kicked in, people have been in church physically much less often. So those giving opportunities for those folks have not been there. So that category of giving has dropped. And of course, we don't have our building rental income that we used to have, and we haven't had any of our big fundraising dinners that we normally have. So that income has disappeared. And also, of course, we've had some folks, and this is not COVID related, but we've had some folks die this year. That's had an impact. We've had some folks go from being very active to basically being inactive this year because their health has declined dramatically. So that's had an impact. And we've had a couple of families in the church leave for other congregations, other denominations. So that has had an impact on giving. Now, it hasn't been a crisis this year because these things sort of accumulate. We didn't start the year in this situation. The impact sort of snowballed over time. So these problems weren't there all year long. And the other saving grace, of course, was that we had the stimulus package, or in particular the payroll protection program was a godsend to us this year. But looking at, so we're going to get through the year. Okay, we're going to get through the year. We might be in the red a little bit. It's not going to be a crisis. We're going to get through the year. We're going to get through the year okay. The question is looking at next year. Okay, because if our giving next year is the same as our giving this year, if our building income is the same next year, if we get no, I should say, if we get no building income next year, or very little building income next year, if giving does not increase next year, and um, and if we are not unable to have fundraisers next year, then we're looking at a significant shortfall. We're looking at a shortfall of around $60,000. That's like 20% of our budget, and you know, it would mean dramatic changes in the ways we do things. So what I'm going to be doing, we're having our stewardship series right now. We do that every year. This year, it will, as always, culminate in a call for people to sort of commit to giving a certain amount next year. What's going to be different this year, though, is instead of me focusing on a pledge card, and there will be pledge cards, or estimate of giving cards, whatever you want to call them, but the big thing this year is I'm going to encourage people to, instead of filling out the traditional pledge card, to go to the website and to choose one of the two methods of automated giving that we have, either through PayPal or with Tithely. If you click on the donate button in the top right corner of the website, you'll see this. I think there's one donate button that then gives you two options, one for Tithely and one for PayPal, and to set up an automated giving so that you know so that if we're going to have virtual worship, we're going to have virtual giving too. Because even when we were gathered together in the fellowship hall, we're not passing the plate right now because you're not supposed to do that. That's right. That's contact. That's money's dirty, and we're not supposed to be passing stuff around. The lyrics are on the screen, so we don't have to have hymnals that are changing hands constantly. So we have been passing the plate, so that we have a time where we talk about giving every week, but then there's the envelope, and some people remember to put the envelope, the box. Some people remember to put stuff in, some people don't. So, given that we're probably going to be here physically less next year, at least the first half of the year. I'm hoping by the second half of next year things will be closer to normal. We really need people to start giving online. Now, if you're already giving either through PayPal, or if you've already got your bank set up to do automated checks every month, great. Don't worry about it. I mean, you can revisit the amount, but we're not. I'm not asking anybody to change their automated giving, but the majority of our people are not using automated giving, and what we really need is for everybody to go to automated giving, and then and that commits you to a discipline of giving a fixed amount on a regular basis. That allows you to budget, that allows us to budget, and that allows us to have that prayer in a much more deliberate way. How much am I going to give to the church next year? So I was looking at how much our shortfall is going to be, and looking at how many giving units we have right now. And a giving unit is basically a family. So Becky and I are one giving unit. We don't each write checks. We have pooled income in our family. We don't have separate. We don't keep separate money in our family. So we're a single giving unit. So looking at each giving unit, and I'm about to say something crazy. To continue to do things at the level that we're doing them right now next year, given the shortfall in all of our sources of income, we would need the average giving unit to increase their giving next year by $11 a week. I know that's a big number for many people, and I'm sorry, but that is in fact what it is. Now, of course, I'm asking people not to give a certain amount. What I'm saying is the average needs to be that much. So theoretically, if we're all trying to do a better job at tithing, trying to give a bigger percentage of our income with the ultimate goal of giving 10%, and some of us are at 10%, I know that. Most of us are not at 10%. So if people are shooting for 10% every year, and if you're up 2 or 3%, most Methodists are at 2% or less. If you're shooting for 3 or 4% next year, if you're not yet at 11, and 11 is less than tithing for you, then go to 11. Now, if you're already at 11 and 11 is tithing for you, then stay right there. If you're somebody who has disposable income, and you have not been affected by the economic realities this year, then you could consider, second mile giving or something like that. But that is just the reality that we are facing right now, moving forward. That's not the position I expected to be in right now. I know that does not sound consistent with the things that I've been saying this year. I'm sort of eating my hat right now because I thought we were in a better situation than we are. And the reason really is because the government helped us out. Um, and the weekly plate has looked good, but that's not how all of our money comes in. So anyway, so praying to God and listening to God and be willing for God to say, all right, I need you to do something new that sounds a little bit crazy this year, whether it's trying a new type of online fellowship or to give in a different way or to commit to automated giving when we've never done that before or to commit to a different amount or whether to volunteer to be involved in the church in ways that you've never been involved before. Maybe that involve technology, maybe not. Hey, Larry Hill is here, joining a little bit late. Welcome, Larry. Good to have you here. Um, so that's how all of this ties into stewardship. And the last way it all ties into stewardship, and this is another crazy thing. It's not a crazy thing, it's a great idea. And I mentioned this in church on Sunday, and nobody jumped up and said, ooh, I want to be that person. So we have folks in the congregation right now who are seniors, who do not have any internet access at all, who do not have smartphones, who do not have smart televisions, and they are really struggling to stay connected with the church right now because they're high risk. They're not coming to worship. They should not be coming to worship. We don't want them to get sick. So what they've been doing is attempting to listen on the phone, and we use Zoom's phone feature every Sunday morning to send our worship service out over the telephone line, and that service has not been nearly as reliable as Zoom's other services. I use my phone to do it. I use the phone client, and there have been several Sundays that it had network errors that resulted in the service dropping out while the people were home. And think, they're sitting there with the phone to their ear, listening like this for half an hour on Sunday morning. God bless them. That's not a comfortable way to sit for half an hour, but they're doing it. So to do that for 15 minutes only to have it cut out in the middle of the sermon, that's got to be frustrating to them. And I know that it's frustrating to them. So what I would like to do, if we can find someone to do this, there is at least one product out there that is designed specifically to get seniors in this situation online so that they can do things like this. The one that I'm familiar with is called GrandPad, and basically it's a tablet that comes with a service plan that gives it a data plan. So it doesn't require them getting cable at the house or internet wires or anything installed. It works through the cellular system. So as long as they live in a place where they have cell pickup, cell service, they can do this. And it's a tablet that is specifically designed for seniors. And the tablet is managed by another family member. So in other words, if you've got a family member living in Florida somewhere and they can't go to church, you can order one of these for them, and you can set it all up at home on your own computer. You set it up through their website, and when they receive it, it's already got all the contacts in there that they need to do FaceTime. Well, it wouldn't be FaceTime. It's not Apple, but it's a Skype type of thing. It's all got all the things in there, and it's got a simple web browser that has the websites that they want to go to already in it. It's got the social media stuff already programmed in. So when they get it, all they have to do is set it on the charger overnight, and the next morning it turns on, and oh, there's my daughter. Boom, I can video call her. Oh, there's my church. Boom, I can go to my church's website. And that way we could. It's designed specifically to make it easy for folks to learn how to use. So if we could have somebody in the church, because nobody on staff has time to do this, if we could have somebody in the church say, I will either do this product or find another comparable product. I will call the families of all of these people and see if I can get somebody in the family to be responsible for doing this for these folks. And finding out if money is an issue. The tablets themselves are cheap. It's the service plan that costs money. Um, if somebody could spearhead this project and start contacting these folks and finding out who would be that person in their family who would be responsible for making this happen and for managing it online, if we could get somebody to spearhead a project like this, we've got like 15 folks at home who are really struggling to stay connected with the church right now. And I think that as the body of Christ, we should be able to get those folks connected. So, once again, this isn't something that somebody in the church is going to jump up and down and say, "Oh, I'm all excited about that. That is exactly the type of project I've been looking for." This project probably sounds like a burden that you wouldn't be interested in carrying right now. So, what I'm hoping is that folks in that prayer time with God, one of them will hear God saying, "I know you don't want to do this, but I need you to do this, and you're capable of doing this. So please take up this mantle and do this." That's that's where prayer comes in with stewardship. All right, Joan is saying people need to look at monthly giving to the church like it is a contract. Each month we budget for things like utility payments, food, pharmacy, etc. We need to plug in. Oops. I just lost my comments. How did I do that? I was reading Joan's comment and I lost it and I can't get it back. Why can't I get it back? Joan, I lost your comment. Um, Contract might be a strong word because sometimes people's realities change, and sometimes you commit to doing a certain amount of money at the beginning of the year, and then your employment situation changes, or you have major unexpected health expenses or something, and the nice thing about tithing is that it's based on your income. So if your income changes, your tithe changes right along with it, and that's where the cards don't exactly work well with. Um, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get the comments back so I can see what you guys are saying. Maybe I can go in through another app and do it. Dang it. Now you guys are interacting, but I'm not interacting with you. Let me go to my Restream chat app. See if I can find you in there. Wait, gotta remember my password. And that was it. Okay, waiting for new messages. All right, so Joan, I cannot recover the message that I was reading. I have to see new messages coming forward. I apologize for that, guys. I don't understand why the previous messages aren't showing up when I go back in there, but they're not. All right, so anyway, so yes, it would be great if people viewed monthly giving that way, and so and with a caveat being that certainly the church understands the situations change, and and the ideal is that we would be at a place in our faith life where we could have the kind of conversation that I occasionally am a part of. I have known people, only a handful in my life as a pastor, who would come up to me and say, "Hey, Pastor Steve, I just want to let you know that my business isn't doing so well this year, and I'm going to need to drop my pledge from a certain amount to a certain amount. Could you pass that on to the financial secretary for me?" And it was for them. It was just like telling me, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to be at the meeting next week. Could you take notes for me or something?" They didn't. It wasn't something that they had anxiety about. It wasn't something that they were secretive about. It was something they were just perfectly comfortable saying. Obviously, they felt bad about their business not doing so, and they didn't like having to come forward and saying that. But they were at a point in their discipleship and their relationship with God and their relationship with the church that that this just wasn't something that they were sensitive about. Just the way we would, the same way we view showing up and helping with projects and stuff. That's how they viewed their giving. It's just one of the many different ways that we're involved, and people need, when something is happening, when the men are doing a dinner on Saturday, they need to know who's going to be there, right? So you know, so people have no problem saying, yeah, I'll be there. I'll give you 4 hours or 5 hours or however many hours I got on Saturday. The ideal would be that people be a place in their discipleship where they view the money they give the same as they view the time that they give. But it's just something that we do as Christians, and that we understand that people need to know what we're going to do so they can plan accordingly. So that would be the ideal. Um, no more messages have come through. No more chat stuff have come through since I started this. I don't know if that means that it's not working, or if that means nobody has posted anymore. So anyway, if you or someone you love is the kind of person who would be an ideal candidate for taking on that project, we would just, oh, here we go. I've got it. All right. Now I've got it. 9 comments. And there are no more new comments. Okay. We need to plug into our budget monthly tithing. Not hard to do. Well, hard is relative. All right. So anyway, what time is it? It is 8:37. I want to move on here. So Joan, is the chairperson for our reopening task force. Oh, one more thing. To finish the thought, build a tithing payment into the budget just as you would other monthly expenses. Yes, I know things can change with employment. Happened to Dale and I. Yeah, it does. Had to back down our giving for a while, but we are back up to speed now. For us, even with the fixed income, we build it into our budget. Well, thank you, Jim. We really appreciate that. And Becky and I more or less do too. We kick in extra every now and then when is needed, or we adjust when we're going to make our payment periodically, depending on what's going on. But yeah, things do change sometimes. Becky changed jobs last year within the same company, but every now and then you get that call from your boss, and your boss says, "Hey, I need you to train this person in India on how to do your job," and you go, I wonder what that means. So, these things happen. All right, so moving on. Listening to God. Hopefully, God is reaching out to people right now saying, "Hey, would you be willing to help learn how to run a laptop on Sunday morning? Hey, would you be willing to help our seniors get their hands on some easy-to-use tablets?" Looking at various news items in the world this week. Yeah, I'm so happy to see how many people have been saying things in the news that have to do with it's time for our nation to pull together. It's time to put the bitterness of the campaign behind us. It's time for us to find some common ground that we can build on. I'm greatly encouraged by people who are saying that. There are also people who are saying, no, it's time for payback. That saddens me. There are also people saying things like, no way should we find common ground with these people. These people are the problem with our country, and I'm not going to support them in any way. That's unfortunate. Some people are saying something that's a little bit more honest. That's kind of in the middle, though, and they're saying, yes, we do all need to pull together. We do need to find common ground. But let's be honest in that this is not going to be easy to do. We are a divided country. We have different visions of the future. We've said things to each other that were hurtful. We're going to have to apologize to each other. We're going to have to get to know people who disagree with us. We're going to have to be willing to listen to those people, understand where they're coming from. We're going to have to do that with an attitude of grace. It is not going to come naturally to us, but that's where our nation needs to be doing right now if, in fact, we're going to move forward as a nation and find that common ground that we so desperately need. And there is an organization that is trying to do that called Braver Angels. They used to be called Better Angels. They had to change their name. I think that they had a trademark issue or something with another group. But they're called Braver Angels. Their website's braverangels.org. And they are designed to get people in purple areas, divided areas, to get together and to talk to each other and to relearn how to love each other again. And that's another thing that I would love to be doing if I had time to do something like that. Hopefully somebody in the congregation is willing to go to braverangels.org and see if that's something that they would be willing to help us get involved in. A study came out this week saying that most Americans, other than baby boomers, think that the American dream is unachievable. Baby boomers think it is achievable, at least 2/3 of them do. But the younger generations, in varying different levels of majority, say that most of them say that the American dream is unachievable. They did not define for me what the American dream actually is that people were saying is unachievable. I define it as upward mobility, being able to live a lifestyle that is better than the ones that your parents did. Maybe not have to work as much, but to enjoy more. I think I would say that in our economy the way it is right now, that it is not achievable. Most people blame the decline of manufacturing in this country for that. Economists, though, say that the real culprit is not that. It is the lack of a pipeline from the classroom to manufacturing jobs. Manufacturing jobs are not in the same places they used to be. They're not in the same fields that they used to be. They don't require the same skills that they used to require. And there are not the programs in place that need to be in place to get people from high school into these manufacturing jobs. In fact, there's lots of places where there are shortages of people who can work in the factories, and there are trades that are approaching. I think I heard that the average electrician is over the average master electrician in this country right now is over 60. So where are all those master electricians going to come from, right? So there are opportunities out there. We're just not set up to take advantage of them. Another study that came out this week that I think impacts a lot of us. We all know how important sleep is to our overall health. We all know how important it is to our spiritual health and our emotional health. If you're only getting a half a night's sleep, and I know some of you are only getting a half a night's sleep, getting a half a night's sleep dramatically impacts your ability to process trauma and fear. In fact, if you've recently gone through a trauma, and many people have, if you're currently very anxious about the future, and a lot of people are, you would be better off skipping a night's sleep altogether than lying in bed for half of the night staring at the ceiling. That's a little shocking to me, but if you're not getting a full night's sleep, for whatever reason, you need to do whatever you need to do to be sure that you're doing that. And the last thing of importance that I saw this week that I think affects an awful lot of us, people who do not exercise are twice as likely to feel depressed and or anxious as people who do exercise. So take that to heart, folks. Whatever exercise you can get, please get exercise. And I know that the governor has, I believe that gyms are one of the businesses that just had their occupancy ratings dropped back, but my gym hasn't had enough people to come back to have to worry about that yet. So, all right. So we've talked about the different ways we need to stay healthy. We've talked about listening to God. We've talked about COVID-19. Do we have any other prayer concerns that we need to lift up? So I'm checking the comments now. If we get any more comments, I can lift those things up in prayer. We don't have anybody in surgery this week. We do have one person getting some surgery next week. I don't remember if that's common knowledge or not, though, so I'm not going to lift it up. Um, Not seeing any more comments coming in. Oh, still praying for Elda, huh, Kayleen? Okay, we will continue to pray for Elda. Um, we are very blessed in this county in that we have zero COVID hospitalizations right now. We do have COVID patients in this county, but none of them are bad enough to need to be hospitalized. That certainly is not the case in other situations. Yes, Carolyn Livingston, we need to pray for. I tried to call her tonight, but the phone number that I had for her did not work. I tried to call her cell phone, and apparently she's changed. Elda is in a nursing home, and we're going to pray for her. So Carolyn Livingston is recovering from surgery, and also Pat Ramey has switched to a new rehab center and is recovering from surgery. But anyway, as I was saying, people are still dying from COVID, obviously. I mean, the newspapers run the numbers every day. And one of my colleagues had a cousin who was not particularly old. She was, still working. She wasn't retired yet. And she went from fever to hospital to dead just in a couple of days. It was amazing how fast it went after her. So we're still in the thick of this. So please keep COVID sufferers in your prayers. All right. Larry says, on behalf of the veterans of Helen, thank you for making yesterday's observance possible. You are very welcome. It was an honor to be a part of that. And it was an honor for our congregation to be a part of that. And, one more way this year has offered us opportunities that we weren't expecting to be offered. All right, let's go ahead and close with a word of prayer. God, give me the grace to accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed, courage to change the things which should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish the one from the other, living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking, as Jesus did, this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen. All right, brothers and sisters, thank you for joining us tonight.